Bon County, Nima County, Grand Judah County. The healthcare condition in the country is so deplorable that it must now constitute a national emergency. But the president does not believe it is an important sector of governance to warrant his priority, but instead, they've chosen to neglect and have diverted their attention on witch hunt. We believe the arrest and detention of 6 lawmakers plus other Liberian nationals is a witch hunt compounded by government's inability to address the bread and butter issues affecting Liberians. And so they chose to create a distraction that keeps the public distracted from the seriousness of the challenges confronting their lives. And that everyone is now focused on the arrest of lawmakers in the burning of a part of the Capitol building. Now, we had issued a statement some time ago calling for an investigation into what has now been concluded as an arson attack. And we called a few weeks or months ago for a speedy investigation to establish the root cause of the fire incidents. Now, when we saw the director of police rounding up members of the legislature, having them arrested on Friday, which means it was premeditated that these lawmakers should be arrested, not only because there is an assumption of the commission of a crime, that because government officials or the presidency want to see them suffer. Or else, why will you arrest members of the legislature on Friday if it is going to keep them in jail indefinitely up until Monday? So the fact that President Boakai passed on the instruction to have these individuals arrested on Friday is indicative of the fact that they have been witch hunted, and the president is interested more in vengeance than in justice. These are not people that are a flat risk. They are not wanted individuals on the run. They are available. So what provided the basis to have them arrested on Friday? To complicate their release on Saturday and Sunday, if not to keep them in jail indefinitely over the weekend up until Monday. We think this is also one of the clearest demonstrations that the arrest and detention of the 6 lawmakers and other Liberian citizens like Barcus Cape is intended to deliberately violate their right to witch hunt them because they belong to a certain political classification that is undesirable by the presidency. And we think every Liberian citizen should stand up and say no to these things. Enough of the witch hunt. It will only carry us backward and undermine our democracy and the fundamental basis of the rule of law. Now, it is interesting that the Liberian National Police is in a hurry to arrest lawmakers. Now, it doesn't mean that these lawmakers are the founders of Liberian nationals. That's not my argument. Regardless of what or how they may conduct themselves in the legislature, does not provide basis for their rights to be violated in circumstances or other circumstances that clearly demonstrate a witch hunt and political targeting. Now let's look at the police department. It is interesting how eager and zealous that the police director, Mr. Gregory Coleman, is so desperate to incarcerate certain members of the legislature on a Friday, and where it became a national debate, where international actors had to get involved before they were sent to court on Saturday. The police, under the circumstances, is compromised. The police does not have the credibility to be an enforcer of the law, and by the police, I mean the police under Gregory Kuwor, under his jurisdiction. And why do I say that? When the former speaker, whose resignation was coerced by President Boakai, we have to state that clearly, when he was still in the impasse, he had written the Supreme Court in a Bill of Information petition to interpret or they clearly come out and give meaning to the initial ruling that was passed by that final arbiter of justice. That Bill of Information was preceded by the decision of the Justice Minister to criminally interpret the Supreme Court ruling in favor of the majority of lawmakers that were abusers of the law in the impasse involving an attempted removed Speaker Jonathan Fonadeko. The Justice Minister's interpretation of the law was not only unfounded, but constituted a criminal basis for his resignation. How do I know that? Because the same Supreme Court acting on the Bill of Information clearly established that the Justice Minister was wrong, and that he interpreted the initial ruling with biased intent. The moment that ruling came out from the Supreme Court, the Justice Minister became a party and an actor in that impasse or in that controversy. Why is this important? Because the Liberian National Police acts under the jurisdiction of the Minister of Justice. So it is no wonder that in manipulating that initial ruling, the security detail of Mr. Kofa was withdrawn, leaving him vulnerable, and redeployed to protect a speaker that in my view today remains a rogue speaker, Rachel Cohn. So the Justice Minister's decision made him a party to the legislative brouhaha. The Justice Minister influences and provides administrative oversight of Gregory Kuwor. So if the Justice Minister is compromised and a party to that controversy, it also means his decision influencing how the police behave is also compromised. So that's how we know that Gregory Kuwor's action, which has been teleguided by the Minister of Justice, is not in pursuit of justice, but it's intended to witch hunt. It's intended to inflate or to utilize the police authority as an instrument of vengeance against a segment of the legislature, led by Fonadeko. Even Joseph Boakai, the president of Liberia, is compromised in this matter. Because Joseph Boakai did not only try the Supreme Court ruling, he assaulted the rule of law. He refused to oblige, he refused to respect the rulings of the Supreme Court in this matter, and challenged the court's ruling, neutralized it, trashed it, and rebelled against it. And by that action, the president of Liberia became the chief architect of rebellion against the rule of law. That cannot be ignored. So these are the actors and the characters that authorize a compromised and notorious police department whose hands are still stained with the blood of innocent young men in Kinjor to arrest Mr. Kufa and 6 other lawmakers, to arrest Bacchus Cap and others. This is a misapplication of the law. And we believe that there's nothing within the confines of due process or legal mechanism that will justify 100 years from now the action taken by this government to arrest lawmakers under the guise of prosecuting people for committing crimes. I want to see the actual culprits of the Capitol building incidents arrested. But how do you arrest people when the police director, on the first day of the burning of the Capitol building, without investigation, determined and announced it was assault attack? How do you know that without investigation? Outside investigation or investigation protocols? Where were the police on the night of the assault attack? When the Capitol building premises were under the jurisdiction of the police, there were police officers that had custody or that had operational oversight of the Capitol building. Were they investigated? Were they part of the questioning to establish probable cause in the burning of the Capitol building? Where is Koga, Senator Koga, usually later inside in Niba County, who was said to have spent unusually long hours at the Capitol premises on the eve of the quote-unquote assault attack? Why was he not investigated? Why was he not invited to answer questions? Why are you focusing the weight of the strength of an investigative process on members of the opposition? We as civil society are duty-bound to stand for every citizen requires of political persuasion. And we believe what is unfolding in our country has a propensity to undermine peace and stability and will cripple the fair application of the rule of law. And care must be taken before the peace and stability of the country is broken down under the weight of Mr. Boakai's pursuit of characters perceived as enemies of his government. We are not surprised at what is unraveling the country. We believe there are criminal elements behind the presidency that are exploiting the president's vulnerabilities. In 2017 or so, I cannot be exact with that information, but somewhere around there, this very vice president of Liberia, Jeremiah Kuwor, said President Boakai's brain is deteriorating. Jeremiah Kuwor said Boakai has dementia, meaning he's in mental decline. I'm not making it up. In quotation, and the video is available over social media. His vice president today was worried 6 years ago, 7 years ago, perhaps 8 years ago, that the president is incapacitated, then just leader of the Unity Party, that he's incapacitated to run the affairs of the state. And he said his advice for Mr. Boakai is to go into private life because his own father at that age has been reduced to a pampered dressing statesman, pampered dressing senior citizen. If President Boakai was in mental deterioration 7 years ago, then think about today. So we believe the presidency is suffering serious mental deterioration, and that vulnerability or incapacity is being exploited by criminal elements in the press around presidential cycles who have interest in succeeding President Boakai and are trying to consolidate political power for next election. We don't care who becomes president in 6 years, in 5 years, who becomes senator or lawmaker. We care about a free, fair, and balanced playing field for all candidates, all Liberian citizens to participate freely without threat to our existing democratic process or the rule of law. So we believe these decisions are a product of a manipulated political calculation of certain criminal elements in government who have interest in consolidating power for themselves. So they are weaponizing certain state institutions. They are weaponizing the legislature today. Richard Kuhn said on the record that he is a regime speaker, meaning he is not speaker of the people, he is a puppet of the presidency. So the legislature has been weaponized. They've weaponized the NSA. Jeremiah Kuhn has recruited his kingsmen at the NSA, and they have overflooded that agency where they work at the whims and caprice of the vice presidency. They've weaponized the police force. The police have become an instrument of vengeance against Liberian citizens. So I was not surprised when Scarface, that's how I have quoted him, one or two, Nelson Freeman, also known as Scarface, a notorious police bandit, who said recently, and I can make the video available to the public, that we are not in normal times. We're not at war. We don't have guns. You are violating the rights of Liberian citizens. But yet you come up with this dangerous phrase that these are not normal times. And you are pursuing people that in your view are trying to undermine justice. It is not the place of the police to pursue people who undermine justice. That is the place of the law, of the court system. The police place is to protect life and properties and ensure that in doing so, there will be a fair dispensation of policing across the country that will not target one group above the other. But the statements of Scarface on Nelson Freeman, a notorious police bandit that is responsible for killing innocent Liberians, I remember in 2011 at a political party headquarters. Scarface, who was brutalizing motorbike riders, having them arrested arbitrarily sitting in their backs, and threatening and breathing fire against innocent citizens, must be stopped. I think it's time for the likes of Kuwor and Scarface or Nelson Freeman to be dismissed from the police force. These men are not qualified to wear police uniforms, talk less, or become police directors. Scarface's hands are stained with the blood of victims of King George massacre. Those boys that were killed in King George for protesting against the ill will and the abuses of B. Martin against Cape Martinians. Their blood will not go in vain. Their blood forever stains the conscience of Kuwor and Scarface. And they should be dismissed. We will not rest nor slumber until the likes of Scarface or Police 102 and Kuwor are dismissed from the police to restore the diminished image of the police force. These men are crushing the integrity of the police. When citizens see the police because of notorious behavior, citizens run from the police. People shouldn't be running from the police, they should be running to the police. But they're running from the police because the police have become an instrument of vengeance and repression against Liberian citizens. Motorbike riders are beaten every day. Every day. Their bikes confiscated. Marketeers, younger boys are beaten every day. We cannot have a situation of this nature and we go silent. We will never be silent. We don't fear their guns. We don't fear their tear gases or their tear gas canisters. We don't fear their bombs. We will remain standing for truth. And the day we are gone down, will be gone down standing, not kneeling. Because this country will not bow to the dictatorship and the tyranny of Joseph Boakai. We will never bow. We will not kowtow. We will not be silent. We don't fear your guns. And citizens must come to the realization that the phrase all power is inherent in the people does not mean unnecessary submission to tyranny or dictatorship. That phrase demonstrates that power is inherent in the people and the people must rise when tyranny and dictatorship threaten their survival. We call on the public. According to Nelson Freeman or Scarface, which I quote, these are not normal times. These are dangerous times. Do not allow yourself When you are doing the right thing, when wrongs are not being committed, and the police come to victimize or brutalize you, resist it. In self-defense. No police officer has the right to treat a Liberian citizen who is not committing crime in a way that is unworthy of a decent citizen. You can't be beating innocent people because you have guns and batons. The citizen needs to collectively resist these arbitrary police actions. Non-violent resistance works. It should be applied. There's a resistance that is non-violent, but that is applicable to defend the rest of citizens. These are dangerous times. These are not normal times, the police say. The likes of Scarface must be resisted. When he's in the ghettos, in the communities, victimizing innocent Liberian citizens. We cannot allow you to be beating people and killing them for doing nothing. Because their brother don't talk. The police need to stop. If you come to arrest me, I've not committed any wrong, I'll resist your arrest. I will resist your arrest that is arbitrary and wrong. I don't commit crime. I've done nothing wrong. I'm not a criminal. I've broken no law because you have power. I heard you say yesterday. I'm going to tell you no. Because when harms are inflicted on your body, you cannot take them anywhere because they are law and gospel unto themselves. Because Bwaka has weaponized the police force. The police is an instrument of repression. And the people should not sit supinely and allow police power to kill them, brutalize them without non-violent resistance. Non-violent resistance works. It should be applied. The next new thing, the next big thing that they are doing now is going to communities and breaking up people's structures. They were in Stockton Creek, breaking people's structures. They went to Cotton Tree around opposite Baptist Seminary, breaking down structures. They were on Nipple Street. According to them, they're trying to open sewage lines, breaking down people's structures. Bushwhack land, breaking people's structures. Selective demolition exercise. But here's the thing. One thing is common in these bias processes. On Nipple Street, they are breaking down homes of poor people. But the stores of the Lebanese, homes of the Lebanese and the wealthy are left untouched. Kwangatown right here, just close to State's headquarters. Mr. Bwaka said he's building overhead bridge. We celebrate that. We want development. But if properties of citizens of the country fall in alleyway, it is just normal, it is just decent for the government to sit with property owners and have a dialogue and talk about compensation. So many people, they spend a left-up building 3-bedroom house. Somebody is working for 150. A 7-7, cut taxes 125. It takes them 15-20 years to build a house. And by the time that house is completed, it's only for their children because they owe. You see in 60s, sometimes 70s, some in their 50s. And you come with both those over there and break their structure because you are government. Without discussion, without talking about compensation as a government, this is wrong. This is reprehensible. It should not be happening in our country. It should not be happening under the government of America came to rescue. You can use building over here as an excuse to drag people into poverty and homelessness. It's wrong. But where the broke poor people homes, George Calando mansion still stands there, untouched. George Calando's mansion still stands there. Why was it not demolished? Because he's powerful, because he's a friend of the president, and because he's a friend of Gregory Coma. It's wrong and should be stopped. Stockton Creek. People that supported Bwaka's campaign when he was running for presidency, in my view, I don't have to establish this, it's a speculation, might be going to him and using capital commitment as leverage to break homes and claim property. Someone come with deed that is dated 1948, 1955, 1976, and they take the deed to the court and talk to court workers, judges, corrupt judges, and show them that if you help me get a property, I'll give you 10 acres. One woman is trying to claim 85 acres as Totten Creek, where poor people live. They've been living there for 30 years, 25 years. And the police is brave with impunity. They are guiding bulldozers to demolish the homes of these people. People that have been living on their property, they struggle to build for years. This is wrong. It should not be happening under a government that came to rescue people and using greed as a basis, as an excuse to demolish homes. We think it's wrong. They will rise in their defense. Look at Fender. The Bucket bulldozer was in Fender 2 days ago, demolishing homes. Citizens need to come together collectively and put up nonviolent resistance to forestall these demolition processes because it is a violation of their homes. It's wrong. You can't go to Fender or Neighbor United Junction and you are breaking people's homes because someone who supported Bucket during election time is using his leverage or influence to acquire a court warrant to displace 30,000 persons, 10,000 persons. This is wrong. This is injustice. It must be met with not violent resistance. Any police officer that are coming with a bulldozer to remove you, you have your right to come together in your numbers. Lie before that bulldozer, let them kill you. Because either way, they are killing you. If you suffer to build a house in 30 years, 20 years, 20 years, 15 years, and they come and demolish it, what your children? We told them, call us. I'm not putting at rest. If they call us and we are there, we will be the first to lie before that bulldozer. But this is wrong. It's not been happening in our country. It's wrong. Having said that, as you know, we are preparing for July 17th. And I see all the things police trying to do, scale tactics, intimidate peaceful citizens. It's a worthless venture. We cannot be intimidated. You can't scare me. I'm stronger than you. My resolve is greater. I knew the consequences of this action before I took part into it. Nothing will stop July 17th. Not even my death. The police should start wasting their time. And then they should start wasting taxpayers' money on surveillance. Tapping my line, tapping my phone. Having people in cars turning me around. I go place in the night, they are around there. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. It's not going to work. Deploying police force at Stan's headquarters. Paying grenade men to attack me as I'm making my rounds to communities. It's a waste of your energy. These things will not work. You need to ask Eddie Johnson Salif. We were here for 12 years and we stood up for 12 years. We did not bend our knee to the dictatorship. We will not do it now under an 86 years old man who has dementia. You can't succeed. You need to stop. I've told revolutionaries my will. If Mobile Nolu dies before the 17th of July, my coffin will go to that rally. My coffin will speak resistance. My coffin will march. We don't fear death. Death will come when it will come. We are here to stand in defense of the poor and the victimized. Those are victims of injustices. We'll stand up for them. July 17th is your day, the day of the people. Liberians, prepare yourselves. But next week, we will start printing t-shirts. The July Revolution t-shirt. We'll send screens in the communities. Set up your printing areas and print your t-shirt. Bring your own t-shirt if need be, if you can afford. Help those who cannot afford. We want to print 100,000 t-shirts across the country. The July Revolution will take part in every major city in Liberia. Will take part in Brussels. Will take place in Washington, D.C. July is the day July is the month. The 17th is the day. Liberians will rise up to say, enough is enough. To this greedy and lawless demolition exercise, enough is enough. Joseph Boakai wants to flex muscles that he's to protect rule of law. That he wants to set an example. Why are you not arresting or prosecuting government officials that you have dismissed for corruption? They're all over the place. You can't fight corruption, you are demonstrated. You may, Woda resign for riding $90,000 car. Less than 2 months, you are riding vehicle that costs more than $1 million US. It's a compromise of the integrity. And July 17th,